Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Daniel Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we like darker and creepier things. So if that's kind of your bag, definitely like and subscribe. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. What you do is amazing. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description with the link to the live stream game we're a part of over at Critical Failures on Thursday nights. With that out of the way, we're going to jump into this week's video. We're talking about the Transmuter Wizard. The Transmuter Wizard is part of the last group of Unearthed Arcana that they released. So it's really interesting to see how they kind of evolved and what they're kind of working with some of these classes. Again, the Transmuter Wizard was one of the original Player's Handbook subclasses for the Wizard. So it does contain a lot of that true essence of that subclass, which is pretty great. So let's start at level 3 with Transmutation Savant. Choose 2 wizard spells from the Transmutation School, each of which must be no higher than 2nd level, and add them to your spellbook for free. In addition, whenever you gain access to a new level of spell slots in this class, you can add 1 wizard spell from the Transmutation spell school to your spellbook for free. The chosen spell must be of a level for which you have spell slots, which is really great to really kind of keep you having an abundance of those spells and encourage you to use those spells. Again, the wizard has a lot of utility, so this kind of works really in your favor. Transmutation spells kind of fit that category pretty well. You also gain Transmuter's Stone. When you finish a long rest, you can create a magic stone that lasts until you use this feature again. The stone is a tiny object, and you can use it as a spellcasting focus for your wizard spells. A creature with the stone in its possession gains proficiency in Constitution saving throws and one of the following benefits, which you choose when you create the stone. You can change the stone's benefit when you cast a transmutation spell by using a spell slot. Dark Vision. The bearer gains dark vision with a range of 60 feet or increases the range of its dark vision by 60 feet. Speed. The bearer's speed increases by 10 feet. Resistance. The bearer gains resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder damage. You choose each time you choose this benefit. So this right there gives you a lot of options. If you're a species that doesn't have dark vision, having dark vision is a real big advantage. The best part is you can kind of wait till you need this, because you can change the benefit when you cast a transmutation spell, as long as you use a spell slot for it. So if you manage to have a really low level transmutation spell and it's really important for you to change one of these features, it's absolutely worth it to burn that really low level spell slot, which gets better when you're at a higher level, because those lower level spell slots stop being damaging spells and start being utility spells. So you can really gain a good benefit from that. Resistance is awesome. Be smart about where you are, and this can do a really big benefit for you. The Constitution saving throw proficiency is really great for wizards because you have a lot of spells that require channeling, and the best way to survive getting hit while channeling a spell is Constitution saving throws. It's the only way to survive it, actually, unless you have a spell that kind of negates the damage. But high Constitution score and proficiency makes a big impact on that. That's why sorcerers are so great, because they're one of the few classes that has proficiency in Constitution saving throws. You also gain at level 3 Wondrous Alteration. You always have the Alter Self spell prepared and can cast it once without expending a spell slot. You regain the ability to cast it in this way when you finish a long rest. While under the effects of Alter Self, you gain an additional benefit for each of its options. For aquatic adaptation, you can take the dash action as a bonus action. For changed appearance, you have advantage on deception checks with charisma. For natural weapons, the damage of your new growth increases to 2d6 damage of the associated type of the growth. You also have advantage on Constitution saves to maintain concentration. Now, the Alter's Life spell already requires concentration, so you won't be using that to maintain concentration on another spell. And for the natural weapons, if you grow claws, it's slashing damage, fangs, piercing damage, horns, piercing damage, or hooves, in case you wanted to grow like hoof legs. Those are bludgeoning damage. But the best part about this is you use your spellcasting modifier for the attack and damage rolls rather than using your strength. So it does give you a pretty good option at 3rd level in case you do have to go into melee or into a fight or something, or you know you're going to be up close to something. That's a pretty good use of that, giving you a couple of options. Or if you're in a circumstance where you need to be underwater, or a very political intrigue campaign with a lot of social scenarios, then change appearance really benefits you a lot. 6th level, you gain empowered transmutation. Whenever you cast a transmutation spell that doesn't deal damage, such as fly or a magic weapon, using a spell slot, you can treat the spell as if you were casting it at a spell slot 1 level above the slot expanded. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Now, understand, knowledge of your spells as a wizard is going to be a huge impact to your play. If you take the time and invest in knowing what spells are available, understanding the spells, creating useful circumstances for the spells, that's what makes your wizard a significantly stronger wizard than just picking a spell list that somebody gave and just trying to use them without really knowing what the spells do. A big part of the wizard is its utility, and that comes from its spell list and being smart about your selections, which in and out of itself is a big undertaking because it's a lot of spells on the wizard spell list, and it really makes a big impact your knowledge of those spells. So what I would do is I would pick the wizard subclass, especially if it's one of the schools like necromancy, transmuter, all that stuff. And I would try and focus on just learning those spells so it fits that character. Because if you're just a damage dealer, it's very hard to feel that different from a sorcerer or someone else that kind of just does damage with spells. And the real utility of the wizard is the incredibly broad availability of skills and spells with you. So that's really important to put that effort in, really know what kind of spells you have available and know what their uses are, and specifically for empowered transmutation. At level 10, you gain potent stone. Your transmuter stone is more versatile, and when you create your transmuter stone, you can choose up to 2 benefits. You can choose each option other than resistance only once. If you choose resistance, you can't choose it twice. You must choose different damage types to resist. You can change either or both of these benefits when you cast a transmutation spell using a spell slot. In addition, the following are now among your benefit options for the Transmuter Stone. Mighty build. The bearer has advantage on strength and strength saving throws. The bearer also counts as 1 size larger when determining its carrying capacity, which I really don't think is a benefit to a wizard. You're not really going to be investing a lot of strength usually, unless you're doing something really, really specific. But again, if you're investing in strength, your carrying capacity and advantage on strength saving throws really kind of comes into very specific scenarios. I really can't see a wizard needing a lot of that, so I would really put this on the no choose list. I really can't see a circumstance where you would choose this over anything else, especially considering you have other party members which are probably better suited for that. You also gain tremor sense, which is something that is really, really unique. You don't get a lot of abilities that give you tremor sense, and you get it within a range of 30 feet. Now, tremor sense is defined with a creature with tremor sense can detect and pinpoint the origin of vibrations with a specific radius, provided that the creature and the source of the vibrations are in contact with the same ground or substance. Tremor sense can't be used to detect flying or incorporeal creatures. Many burrowing creatures, such as ankegs, have this special sense. So what does this actually mean for us? It means if anything is invisible, we know exactly where it is. It's 360. So if something was hiding behind you, you would be able to detect that something is coming up behind you without needing to make a perception check, because it would be very clear, because you can pinpoint where the vibrations are coming from. You know exactly what that circumstance is. This is very, very niche. Even more niche than, I think this is less niche than the Mighty build, but the higher level you go, the more likely you are to encounter stealthy monsters around you or invisible creatures around you. This gives you the ability to detect those and really throw a wrench into your DM's plans if they're in circumstances where this occurs. Also at level 10, you gain Shape Changer. You always have the polymorph spell prepared and can cast it once without expending a spell slot. You regain the ability to cast it in this way when you finish a long rest. In addition, when you target yourself with the spell, you can modify the spell to gain the benefits below. Once you modify the spell using this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Game statistics. You retain your personality, memories, and ability to speak. You also retain your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores, class features, languages, and traits. Transmute spell. You can cast transmutation spells while shifted, except for any spell with a material component that has a cost specified or is consumed by the spell. Now, game statistics is really, really cool. You can turn into a T-Rex, that's smart. But it does depend on what exactly you're doing. Polymorph is a great spell in combat. Polymorph can be a great spell out of combat. It depends on how creative you want to be with it and what your knowledge is of your options for polymorph. Again, spell knowledge really makes a big difference, especially here, especially considering knowing what transmutation spells would benefit you while you are polymorphed could be really, really important. And finally, at level 14, you gain the ability Master Transmuter. While you carry your Transmuter Stone, you can take a magic action to consume the reserve of transmutation magic stored inside and choose one of the following benefits. After you use your Transmuter Stone in this way, it crumbles to dust. You can prevent the stone from crumbling by expending a 5th or higher level spell slot as part of the magic action you take using this feature. Major Transformation. You can transmute one non-magical object no larger than a 10-foot cube or 8 connected 5-foot cubes into another non-magical object of similar size and mass and equal or lesser value. You must spend 10 minutes handling the object to transform it. I'll be honest with you, I can't think of a reason to ever use that. Maybe if you're trapped in a wall, or like not trapped in a wall, but trapped behind a wall, or some sort of circumstance where you're in prison and there's no other way out. Maybe I could see that, but again, you're level 14. You probably have better options as a wizard to do something else. But it is very, very strange, its restrictions, especially considering you can only change it to another object of size, mass, and equal or lesser value. Like if you can make it in greater value, awesome. You just created like, you know, a 10-foot cube of gold. Great, fantastic, but or lesser value, like what are you going to do with stone or walls or a trebuchet or whatever it is that fits in that kind of 10-foot cube? Either way, I don't see a lot of use getting used coming from that one, but the other ones do have a lot of cool abilities. Panacea. You touch a creature as part of this magic action, and the target regains a number of hit points equal to half its hit point maximum. The target is cured of all magical contagions. Any curses affecting the targets are lifted, including the target's attunement to a cursed item. If the target has the poisoned or petrified condition, those conditions end. Now, that is really good considering the amount of horrible things that can happen to your players from a DM's perspective. Are cursed items, attunement, diseases, poison, conditions, any of those. Just get all those relifted at the cost of the level 5 spell. That's pretty good, especially when you consider breaking attunement to a cursed item is a huge cost normally. Next, you get Restore Life. You can cast the Raise Dead spell without using a spell slot, using the stone in place of the required material components. Someone should always have some way of bringing people back from the dead. Especially at level 14, this is kind of one of those circumstances where it's like, yeah, somebody should be able to do that. And being able to have the wizard do that to maybe restore a healer or somebody else, or a cleric, a bard, a druid, any one of those people can better suit you surviving. And the last one is Restore Youth. You touch one willing creature as part of the magic action, and the target's exhaustion levels, if any, decreases to 0, and it permanently appears 3d10 years younger to a minimum of adulthood, of young adulthood. So, now I personally like this one because you can restore youth to people. You could make a tremendous amount of money in game doing that. Now, the benefits of eternal youth is pretty great. Considering you're a wizard and typically they're old, you can now be a really young wizard with an incredible amount of knowledge. That's pretty dope. So young adulthood depends obviously on your species because they all have different age groups where you reach young adulthood. Factoring that in, it doesn't do a lot like in game without you kind of spinning it for your own personal gain. But it is pretty great that you can do this, take a long rest, and then have another transmuter stone. So you can just dump 3d10 years off your back. That's pretty great. But again, it does not really do much for in-game utility. So, what do I think about the Transmuter Wizard, the new Unearthed Arcana? I feel like, again, it really does stay true to the original Transmuter Wizard. I think it does keep a lot of the originality of it. I think it benefits the party to have one of these in the group. I think this is a big requirement, again, on your knowledge of your spells and the spells available, specifically your transmutation spells. That is going to make or break this character. It does flood you with a lot of transmutation school spells for free, so you can choose what other spells you feel are necessary. You can pick up Fireball and still pick up a great transmutation spell. A lot of this is being smart about your party, being smart about your spell selection, and being savvy with your spell slots. That's really what this class is, and it helps you build a greater understanding of being a utility wizard, which in truth is the best function for the wizard. If you want to just throw Fireball, you can do that. You absolutely can do that, but it does lose its flair when you can do other creative things to solve problems, and Fireball will not get you out of everything. It just won't. But you still always have that ability to be a blaster. You pick a single target damage spell, you pick an AoE damage spell, and you make sure you have them at good levels, and then if you need to replace them at higher levels because the damage just doesn't compute, then do that. That's the benefit of being the wizard, where you can up to these incredibly big damaging spells. But those two things is all you really need. And then having the utility spells is really going to be the bulk of what your spell list should be if you're a transmuter wizard. I think it's great. I think it requires a little bit of tact and a lot of homework, but I think this is a very viable, again, subclass because the strength of the wizard is twofold. The subclasses help to benefit him a lot, but the general knowledge of the spell list that they have available and their ability to gain and copy spells is really what makes the wizard stand out. That being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you made it this far, definitely like, share, and subscribe. If you play Transmuter Wizards, let me know. If you love them, if you hate them, definitely want to hear about that too. I love hearing different opinions, so don't feel bad if you disagree with me. I really want to see those points of views. It makes me feel great to see those options and see things that I might have missed. It's a great perspective, and I really love that conversation that we get to have because of it. So please, if you love it, if you hate it, if you disagree with it, let me know in the comments. I appreciate it. A big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. A big thank you to all you guys who have been supporting us since the beginning. We love you guys, and we think about you constantly, and we are always happy to see you commenting and sharing and liking our videos. And thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.